Ready?
Good morning, LinkedIn. Good morning, Facebook. Good morning, YouTube. Good morning, the world. Coming up on today's show, we have the incredible Naomi Johnson, who's been providing LinkedIn profile and strategy reviews for the last 10 years. So we're really looking forward to seeing Naomi today.
How exciting.
Yeah. Good morning, Ed.
Good morning, mate. How are you?
Very well, thank you.
Oh, I'm feeling really good today, and I'm really interested in meeting Naomi because LinkedIn is something that is my job on my list of jobs. It's the next thing I need to sort of look at. So it's she's spot on for timing.
Yes, perfect, eh? Well, if you're out there watching today, and if you've got any questions for Naomi about your LinkedIn profile or what to do with it or what not to do with it, or you simply want to shout out, write something in the comments, we give you a shout out, say hello, etc., etc. But yeah, it's going to be a good show, Ed.
Looking forward to it.
Yeah, and quick update about the Cobra Club. What's happening in the club, Ed?
Well, we're having a lot of new members joining. Which is fantastic, and welcome to all the new members. Come and get involved. If you'd like to come onto the Cootie Business Show and chat about your business, let Andy and Ed know, and we'll book you in. And you too could be like Naomi, broadcasting to the whole world. The whole world.
The whole world, forever. Yeah, I once give a big shout out to Gareth Haynes. Hello, Gareth. I've got a one-to-one with Gareth next week. Fantabulous IT company. Give us the name of your company, Gareth, and we'll give you another shout out. But meeting Gareth next week, so that's good. So if you're out there watching and you want a shout out, pop your details in, where you're from, etc., and we'll give you a shout out. And also, if you've got a question you'd like to ask our LinkedIn expert today, then please do pop your question in the comments.
How exciting!
Yeah. So, yeah, what's happening in our business, Ed?
Well, it's a funny thing, our business, because COVID came along. So prior to COVID, Andrew and Ed ran a sales and marketing agency called the Operation Baseline. So operationbaseline.co.uk. And Operation Baseline is a sales and marketing solution for businesses. So if you've not got the business coming in that you want, we can help you do it. If you're not closing the business that you want, we can absolutely help you and get it. So we're an end-to-end marketing and sales solution, which is really quite exciting. And we're right now in a position whereby we're sort of re-energizing that, aren't we, Andy? When COVID hit, the Cobra Club became incredibly successful. So that sort of took a lot of our time. We've put a huge amount of investment into the Cobra Club to make it a great user experience, etc., which then frees us up to do more, to support more of the businesses that are out there. And you know, we work in conjunction with a lot of the people in the Cobra Club, because when you come to businesses, they've all got different concerns and different needs, and we've got the people who can match those needs and support them as well. So it's if you're interested in getting more business, closing more business, come and talk to us, and we can really help you.
We've even got a website too now, Ed. www.operationbaseline.co.uk. So go and check it out. I want to say, give another shout out to Gareth, who is from Digital Elk IT Solutions. So there we go. One of the best
digital elk. That's just an interesting thing, isn't it? Elk.
Yeah, that's the logo. That's the logo on there too. So
very cool.
Chat to Gareth about your IT requirements. Fantastic. Thanks for that, Gareth. So I think, Ed, what I'm going to do, just going to quickly run through a couple of things that are happening in the Cobra Club. Very quickly, where some of the ladies getting together, run by the incredibly talented Louise Monblatt. It's the Wonder Woman Ladies Networking event, which is actually hosted on the first Thursday of the first Friday of the month. So that's Friday the 4th of February. So if you'd like to come to that, just let us know and we'll give you a ticket. We have the Investment Lounge, which is now being headed up by Jonathan Horrocks, for those people out there who want to learn a little bit about investing, but sometimes you might feel like you're too afraid to ask a question, and it's very easygoing. There's no sort of selling going on in there. If you want to learn about investing strategies, come along to that group. Naomi can talk about her event coming up next week. I've also got a monthly marketing drop-in, which is happening next Thursday, 10 to 12, with Logan Blackburn Issett, one of the best marketeers around. We've got a conversion academy happening, which is on the first Thursday of the month, next Thursday, with Lamara, about how to convert leads into business on your website. Quick shout out to Natalie King, who's got a goal setting workshop, goal setting, planning action steps, and accountability. And also quickly, Mr. Graham Bayliss, one of the best SEO artists around, be giving his time for free to answer all those SEO questions. So plenty going on in the club and plenty of events going on too. So the Cobra Club's open from 10 till 5 every day, Monday to Friday, where you can come and network, go to workshops, meetings, training, co-working, etc., etc. So all hosted online, and we have a receptionist there every day from 10 till 5. So come and get involved. So what I want to do, Ed, is before we get Naomi in, let's play a little video, and when we come back in, I'm just going to introduce Naomi. So Naomi Johnson has been providing LinkedIn profile and strategy reviews for the last 10 years and knows what it takes to structure a LinkedIn profile that will have your ideal prospects come to you pre-sold and ready to buy, and how to get you unstuck on LinkedIn. She is a founder of the Expert Economy and the Profile Company. So looking forward to seeing Naomi when we come back. So here we go, guys. We'll see you in a mo. Good morning.
Energy for you, Naomi.
Morning.
Morning. How are you?
I'm good, thank you. How are you both?
All good, thanks.
Really well.
Yeah.
Good.
Really well.
Thank you for having me.
Oh, it's great to have you on.
Yeah, always good to have experts in the room. So, obviously, we know you a bit, Naomi. So, just in a couple of quick sentences, How did you get to becoming the LinkedIn profile expert? What's your background, Naomi?
Yeah, so I started up a coaching business in 2005, made every single mistake in the book, and I can confirm it's in the book because I wrote the book, Grassroots to Green Shoots. And that led to me taking over a company called Marketing Help for Coaches, which then had me headhunted by a friend who was selling LinkedIn training in partnership with LinkedIn. So we spent quite a lot of time at LinkedIn's head offices and talking to their corporate clients and things. And one of the ways in which we needed to get small businesses in to hook them into a conversation with us was to offer a link. Well, I came up with the idea, like offer people a LinkedIn profile review. And so I started doing like 25 a week odd. And I'd been on Daniel Priestley's Key Person of Influence course 2 years before and stuck around, and I was learning everything from him. So the advice I was giving through these LinkedIn profile reviews were very heavily based on key person of influence and positioning yourself as a thought leader and an expert. And I noticed that as I was reviewing people's profiles, when I would stop reading them, be disinterested, and just wait for the phone call with them, and how much when I did speak to them, their passion came through, but it wasn't on the profile. In fact, half the time it wasn't even represented. And so what I came to understand was the psychology of how people actually engage with the profile, how it's a conversation, it's a relationship building, and how when you just get a sales page, it just completely turns you off. And so what happened was that company got bought out by a billionaire, and we started going down the corporate route, which was actually my suggestion. I did myself out of it there. And everything I knew about positioning individuals didn't fit with where the company was going. Okay. So literally overnight, I said to myself, well, I've got to do this. I've got to be true to what I know. And so the people that I had been reviewing LinkedIn profiles for, I noticed that they weren't implementing what I said because they were too close to the topic themselves. They weren't wordsmiths and they didn't have the time. And I said, would you like me to do it for you? They said yes. And here we are 8 years later.
Brilliant. Yeah. It's a fine art, a LinkedIn profile, I'm sure, because obviously people are looking at you, and there's also lots of bots out there, and there's all sorts of stuff going on. But and the hardest thing you can do sometimes is try to sell yourself. It's much easier for someone else to do it for you because you're so you know yourself inside out. You think everyone knows everything about you. In reality, they know very little about you.
Yeah, and it's about prioritizing what's really important from their perspective that your audience will understand. And I think one of the biggest mistakes people make is they write for their audience, i.e. their target ideal client, but they're not realizing that actually their ideal client is probably connected to who they're connected to. And inciting word of mouth recommendations is very important, and having people understand what you do. So like when your topic comes up in conversation, you're the person who comes to mind. That's where the science of it is. And often people forget that, and they either just write straight up, this is what those really heavy sales pages. And it's not really working with the power of LinkedIn, which is networking and connections, which is a timeless skill and a timeless way of doing business. Yeah.
So in your mind then, what makes a good LinkedIn profile stand out?
Yeah. So like I said, it's really important not to just focus on this is the outcome. So what you want to, your ideal client, that is, what we want is everybody in your audience, 100% of people visiting your profile, we want them to come and instantly get, this is the conversation I'm here to have. Because people are, is this profile useful for me right now? Is it a good use of my time, or shall I click away? And if it's poorly taken care of, or it's just outright confusing, they will click away. But when you've got a banner and a headline that instantly like, oh, okay, this is what this is about, and an about section that dives deeper, people are like, oh, right, yeah, okay, I get it. And they'll be like, oh, this looks really put together, this looks really interesting. So immediately you're ticking boxes that make a person stay. And that first opening paragraph is really important because it sets up the context of the conversation. I might not be your ideal prospect, but I probably know people who are, and I won't notice that they're your ideal prospect unless I understand the problem that they're in. So if you can open up the problem in a way, it makes me go, oh yeah, I've seen that, oh, I get that, and even leave me with a piece of information that when I'm talking to that person, I go, oh yeah, and apparently blah 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 blah, and they go, oh yeah, and so it then incites the conversation. But what we're doing is we're creating awareness, because most people do not know they have a problem and therefore aren't looking for a solution. We've all seen it when we've gone to networking events. And you're like, these 5 people over here would be ideal clients for me. And you get up and do your 60-second pitch and it's just like straight over their head, because they don't know that they have the problem in the first place. So what we've got to do is we've got to awaken that in our ideal prospect, and we've got to position ourselves in the mind of everyone in our audience, that they understand the problem, they understand how it shows up and what the consequences of it not being solved are.
Yeah.
And that we are the person whose name comes to mind when
instead of selling product, you're selling solution. Is that
sorry?
Instead of selling a product, i.e. this is what I do, you're talking about solutions so people can buy into what you're doing because they can visualize it in their world. Is that?
Yeah, visualize it in their world. That's a great way of saying it. It's the problem. It's like, oh yeah, I get that. I see it resonates. So you want to awaken the prospect. So they go, gosh, I identify with that.
Yes.
And then what they'll do is they'll do a little bit of research into what you actually are talking about. And then they'll diagnose themselves as, gosh, yeah, I need some help with that. And these days, the next step people will go through is self-implementation. They're like, well, what can I do to improve on this? I'll watch YouTube videos. I'll read a book. I'll do all these different things. And then come around to the stage of, actually, I can't solve this myself. And if they can solve it themselves, happy days, let them. Because if they solve it themselves using your materials, they'll be your advocate telling everybody about you. But you only actually want to work with people who have huge problems, who when they put the money in, however much they pay you, you can create massive value for them. So once a person's gone through and they've figured out, they've diagnosed this, and they've done as much as they can themselves, we want them to be in the place where they're ready to invest and say, actually, I can see now I need to put money into this. And that's when they will come to a sales conversation with you. And when I say that, like the self-research, I don't mean they're going to spend a month reading a book and watching YouTube videos. It can happen instantaneously. They understand the impact of the problem that they're having. They'll go, well, I could do these things myself, checklist, no, I'm going to put some money into this. And then if you're saying with a really good call to action on your profile, come and have a chat with me, they'll go, do you know what, I will. Because there is a statistic out there, it says 76% or something, but I can't find the root of the statistic. It's one of those looping ones. That 76% of people who come to an awareness of a problem with you will buy from you. So if your profile can go through all of those stages, that's how someone will come to you pre-sold and ready to buy.
It's just looking at your profile differently. I suppose I know that because I underuse LinkedIn, so my profile is in effect my CV. It just sort of talks about what I've done, and it isn't salesy, because I help people with sales. You've got to be careful, because you can become too salesy. So you don't want to sort of be that person. So it's getting the balance right of this is who I am, but actually, these are some really interesting things. And actually, that it isn't so much a CV, it is more, those people who come to it are coming to it for a reason, that profile, and therefore to engage them into that, not necessarily to say, yeah, I'm Ed, I worked from this company to this company, I went to this school, great, because that doesn't actually do anything for me apart from, and is that why people just click off? They look and they think, all right, and then they click away.
If you've got a CV-based profile, people are not trained to know how to read it. The only person who can read the language of a CV is a recruiter. And you're not talking to them. This is not a relationship you're building with them. They're like, you're not talking to me. You clearly want a job. I don't have a job for you. I don't know this topic in this industry. I'm off. And they won't hire you. I've seen some profiles recently, and I'm like, okay, right, so you're looking for your next consultancy job. And the person's like, well, no, it's a business. I want multiple clients at once. It was like, yeah, but your ideal client doesn't see a solution in what you're offering. They see a CV. That you're looking for a contractor position, like £500 a day or whatever, in a big company, but not that you actually have a tied up solution for them. So you definitely want to come away from the CV. The other thing as well is that with the past experience, all of it, that if you're going to stand out in your industry, you need to be very clear about your philosophy and your method. Like, this is how I solve the problem, and I totally stand behind it, and this is what I believe about it. So all of that belief has come from somewhere. It's come from your years of experience in industry. So with your entries for the past experience, tell me how that evolved throughout. Tell me the size of the company, the economic climate at the time, the challenges. Like sometimes, someone said I invented such and such in the computer industry, and it was the 1980s. It's like, that's really important, because people assume if they're reading it, well, wasn't there always a computer? No, there wasn't. Because they think you're talking about 2008, not 1980. Do you know what I mean? So it's like getting the context and showing and demonstrating that you've been evolving. And one particular profile I did was a project manager, and he had a very clear philosophy that people who can't deal with uncertainty cannot do projects that evolve are from the scratch and evolving. But if they can't deal with uncertainty, their projects are ones that just slightly turn the ship. And his thing was, don't put project managers in the wrong jobs. And there was a very key job he did where he came to that conclusion, things he'd experienced. And so he put it into that entry and said, it was in this role that I learned and I saw and I came to understand. And it's really important to point out that people will only read that, A, if they're your ideal client and they've got that far, but it's also your hidden decision makers. If you're trying to get a big company or even a business with multiple partners to buy from you, and you talk to one person and you put all of your attention on that one person, and they're like, I really love it, this is really great, the other decision maker is going to go, well, who is this, what is it? And they will come to your LinkedIn profile, and it's them that are going to dive deep and go, why does this person rate him, who is he? And they're going to be very diving in that much deeper.
It's interesting because I think that's the complex sale, isn't it? So it's understanding that within a company, there's more than one person who makes a decision. And you've got to close the main decision maker, but you've also got to close the team in order to get the deal. So it's
not just the team, it's also the family. So you could be a solo entrepreneur with a wife who's looking over your shoulder, or a husband looking over your shoulder saying, what are we spending on? Why? And my mate can do that cheaper. You're mentioning it down the pub that you've gone to this person to do SEO. It's like, well, my mate can do that for you for cheaper. But actually, they don't actually understand solve the problem you're really trying to solve.
No.
And the other person will look at the other person looking at your past experience is your ideal prospect at the 11th hour and the first hour. So they are about to sign off on the deal. They'll come and do their due diligence just to check and see how they feel. And also, if they're moving into buyer's remorse, like, God, what did I buy? Like, why did I buy this? They will come and look at your profile, even if your profile was not part of the sales process. And they met you at networking, they spoke to you, they just, that whole chemistry between you was all there, and they signed the deal. You do not know in the days after just how much they might go, oh, actually, I'm a bit concerned about this now. And they will come and look at your profile at that point.
It's really interesting.
It's really interesting. Obviously, on LinkedIn, you can see who looks at your profile.
Mm-hmm.
Are there any metrics out there that you can see how long someone spent on your profile? Like it is on Google, where you can see their journey. And I don't think there is there? Is that?
No, there's not. And if it were, it would be in the Sales Navigator package, which most business people like you and I and individual businesses don't need. So it wouldn't be that beneficial.
Let's say if someone came to visit your profile, and you can see all the people that visit your profile, and you click on their profile and they look a good fit. They might have that kind of problem that you can solve. What would be your advice then to do next? Would you reach out to that person?
Yeah, why not? Yeah, definitely. Reach out and start a conversation. It's best, we all hate having a sales message in our inbox that is uncustomized, unthought through. Clearly a bot's done it, or somebody on a low wage.
What's your view on bots? And because obviously, a lot of these profile visits are bots. So, there's a lot of noise on LinkedIn. Is it worth me even clicking on people's profiles if they click me? Am I just wasting my time?
In some respects, you're wasting your time, because if the person was interested, they would have reached out. Adding them to your network, you can always go and ask them if they want to come into your network. Because sometimes people are just like, well, especially not so much now, but sometimes people feel like they need a reason to connect, or they need to say something clever to connect. It's like, why am I connecting with you? But they have the opportunity now to follow. So they don't have to be so forthright about their interest. But remember, people aren't going to follow unless you're saying something you're being a thought leader that's worth following.
So what's the difference then between a follow and a connection?
Yeah, so a follow is somebody who's going to start seeing your content show up in their feed, but they're not actually your connection. So they're kind of like fans, I suppose, just like any other kind of social media platform where people are following you, but there's no actual connected relationship.
And what's your view on follow? Because you can only have your profile on one or the other, can't you?
No, the blue button that shows up, if you're in creator mode, it will go to follow. You can always connect with somebody, but that is the problem. A lot of people don't know that where you've got that follow button and then another thing, isn't there? And then there's 3 dots, and if you click on the 3 dots, a drop down will appear. And about the 5th option down, it actually says connect.
Okay. I didn't know that.
Yeah, so you can always unless there's some kind of like celebrity who switched it off entirely because they get inundated or they've reached their capacity or what have you, the opportunity to connect is still there with everybody. But I think that's an important one, is to look at who is following you, because if they don't know that they're following you is a sign of interest, that they've seen something that they like and they want to know more about. So you can take the initiative in that and just say, hey, I saw you recently followed me. It would be great to connect with you too. And then I noticed this about you, or if you would like to have, a review of some sort with me, or in your case, Andrew, if you want to know more about the Cobra Club, I'm happy to jump on a call with you. It's assuming what it was about your profile that they were following. Now, if you put a lot of energy into your profile and you've really crafted it well, you can pretty much be sure what they were there for.
Yeah.
So then it's not so crass to come out with what it is that they can pick up. And
if you've got more than one business that you run, can that contribute to LinkedIn profile?
No. So what happens is like with the experience entries on the profile, that's where you're going to put your 2 companies, and you're going to have them both open, like the date to present. Okay. When you've got the date open to present, you can flick the order off them according to what you're putting emphasis on at any given time. So if you decide you're doing a whole week focusing on one business with your content, just put that one at the top, because that's what people are going to come for. Then what it is to step back and say, okay, I'm one human being and I've got these 2 businesses, and chunk back enough until you see the connection between the 2.
Yep.
What you represent, what you stand for, that makes you stand with the 2 of them. And then you can pitch them that way. And usually you would just come straight in with what it is that you stand for and the problem that you're looking to solve. And I do it to these 2 different businesses, and just make sure each one has its own call to action.
I find it really hard because, Ed and I, we both get involved in a variety of things. And I think, how can I, if I'm going to talk about that for 2 lines, then I'm on to the next thing. I'm almost just got to forget most of what I do and just go in for the main problem, the things I'm solving for. It could be 3 or 4 different things, I suppose. Is there a danger in solving too many problems, or should I just concentrate on one?
Yeah, never add all of it into your about section. You've got experience entries for what you're involved in, and then say the level of which you're involved in it, and then what it is from LinkedIn that you actually want. Like, I'm looking for new guest speakers, I'm looking for new connections and members, or it might be a widgets business, we're looking for distributors in wherever. So it's really clear where you're taking that, but also your role within that, because there's only 24 hours in a day, so you're splitting it up somehow and you've got your objectives somehow. The about section is a conversation, and it's like, well, what is it about you that I need to learn? So I always paste the profile, and you've always got to think about, like, what is the objection this person's going to have? Like, well, that's an outlandish statement. Like, okay, cool, it is. Now let me approach that with you. Those short sentences, sometimes 3-word paragraphs, just like boom, 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 boom. Like, it's a conversation. There's a rhythm in it that keeps the person reading. And that's, in your case, Andrew, what you were just saying, that's about having personality. That's about having an understanding of the problem that you solve and what you actually stand for, and how it all comes together. And I'm sure, this is why I call it a LinkedIn profile and strategy review. Because when you look at the strategy and how it all comes together, my brain figures it out and go, oh yeah, it's this, 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 and this. And reflect. Often I reflect back things to people they've not they've not considered before. And the interesting thing as well is it's like, it's really important when you invite someone to write your LinkedIn profile for you, that they don't just interview you and take what you say and then represent what you say, because you actually need someone to step back strategically and really get how the moving parts go together and tell you what they see, and then obviously confirm it with you that that's what it is. But I think that's the difference between my service and other people's, is that I literally will not write what you've told me. And I do draw a lot on my MBA and my business understanding to actually go, well, this bit will go with that bit. And if I say that, that contradicts with that. But my profiles usually get like one edit, like one word will change, or I've left a typo in there I haven't seen. And actually, I just had 2 clients in the US, and one of them said, "Oh, barely any edits, really great." And I was like, "Oh my God, I've never seen so many edits in my life." Like, I don't know what he was talking about. And I decided to get him on Zoom the other day, because the draft had gone back a few times, and I was like, I'm confused, and I've never got to that stage before. And I just sat there and I went, "By the way, this is the original draft." And I walked him through it, and he went, "Ah, that original draft just really nails it." So the original draft has got published yesterday with not a single edit on it. I was like, proving my point. Because it's the level of thinking you're going to with it.
It is interesting. So I had a conversation with a guy who was a solicitor for a firm. So he was employed and he worked for that firm. And I was talking about doing a LinkedIn lead generation program for the company. Mm-hmm. And he said to me, "Oh, well, LinkedIn doesn't work yet." And it was a really interesting conversation, because he was like, because he didn't get it. So I'm on LinkedIn, and I'm like, "I'm sure you are." And he's like, "But it doesn't, what's the point?" And I'm like, "Why are you on LinkedIn?" And he's like, "Well, because you need to be on LinkedIn so people can find your contact details. So that's why you use LinkedIn. So you're not trying to get sales because you're employed. You're not trying to get another job, because that's not what you're doing. So the purpose of your LinkedIn is to say, this is who I am and this is where I work for, and trust me, I'm part of the organization." That was it.
Yeah, it's really interesting actually what you're saying there, because there's a whole other level to it, especially like with solicitors. They are actually required to bring in business, and they all often do specialize, and that specialism is a thing that can draw people to that organization. Like I have one client, it was 7 years ago I think I wrote his profile now, and it's still exactly the same. And he's a solicitor, and he does neighbor disputes, and he really stands behind like all of his messaging about don't leave it too late, write everything down, or you'll be the one being sued in the end because you've gone too far, like digging a hole you shouldn't have dug or whatever to get back at someone. And that's actually helped him get recruited from one organization to another, because and come in as a partner as well, because he's really standing behind his topic. And law is so vast and so wide. No one is that wide. You do have a passion that you're standing behind, and even if you work on an array of client cases elsewhere, if you can stand for one problem that you solve, brilliant. You're not only going to be able to charge more, but also I was going to say this as well, with the profile just being in place, even if it comes in secondary to the relationship that you have, it actually changes the working relationship. Because if I'm working with a solicitor and he kind of is busy and it brushes me off slightly, I might think to myself, you don't really care. You don't know what you're talking about. Are you really a specialist on this topic? Am I with the right person? But if that brush off comes and I'm like, well, I've chosen him because he's really passionate about this area. He's got 15 years experience in it, and he believes such and such and such and such. I will have that conversation with myself and talk myself back into working with him and go, oh, he's brushing me off because he's so busy, but I trust him to get the job done. This is going to be great. So what actually it does change the working relationship that you have with someone. Because I remember myself, I was in a very dark place at one point and I needed help. And someone said to me, here's a coach that I strongly recommend you work with. And I met up with that person for coffee. It was about an hour, and I told him everything that was going on. And it was like being sold gold when you desperately need it. I was like, yes, just give me the solution. And so I bought from him. I gave him all of my savings to solve this problem with me. And I was really, really eager. And I got to that first session. I was so eager. And then my behavior in it was very off, very guarded, and at the end of it, I was like, what on earth? Why was I behaving that way? And I really reflected on it, and he reflected on it as well. So the second session, he comes in ready with his question. I went, sorry, I know I'm going to be difficult again just by saying this, but can I just express something? I've reflected on why I was so difficult with you in the first session. And it's because I realized that in that hour we spent together, I talked entirely about myself, and I have no idea who you are. I don't know your background. I don't know how long you've been a coach for. I don't know your situation. I don't know your passions.
Yep.
I don't know your credentials, who you've worked with. I don't know anything. And that's why I couldn't take on anything you were saying. And I was so guarded with you and so difficult as a client because I couldn't relate. And so we actually spent the whole session with him telling me about him, and me asking questions. And then we went forward and got a great breakthrough. And, you know, it was fantastic.
It's
and I was
thing, because that's a salesman's fault, if you like. So it's one of the biggest things that sales guys do is they come in and they tell their customer all about everything they want to know, but the customer has not brought into them, and ultimately you buy people. So
it changes the working relationship.
You do. You have to sell yourself. You know, and he, in effect, I understand he let you talk, and it was a coaching, and I'm not going to pretend to be a coach, but he failed to understand that. I mean, he obviously reflected on it and realised it, but and that was the direct result of what he did. A lot of sales guys do it. You know, the solution I've got is perfect for this company. Why won't they buy it? And that's not what they're buying. They're buying the person to deliver it, and that's you. They don't know you. It's a really interesting thing.
And I've got loads of examples about how the working relationship is difficult because of the lack of trust and lack of understanding. And the first place when anyone feels that jittery, like, what am I doing with this person, is to go to the LinkedIn profile. And you want that profile working for you. You want it solving the problem.
So tell me, if you know, what percentage of, I mean, it must be very low, I'm guessing, but what percentage of people's profiles on LinkedIn have taken any of this into account at all? So in other words,
taken any of this into account, did you say?
Yeah. So are most profiles, in inverted commas, rubbish, and a very few good?
Just on the percent, like I think we need to break that down into entrepreneurs, because obviously you've got workers, and that's a whole other thing. So if we just look at entrepreneurs, there are a lot of bad ones, but then most people have tried, so that's good. But what I often see is a style like, who am I? This is what I'm about, and this is what I do. So it looks tidy, and it's definitely well taken care of, but it's really just not working with the psychology. It's like, even if I've met you and if I've bought from you, I'm in buyer's remorse, that isn't going to help me. If I don't know that I have a problem, that's not going to help me realize that you are the solution to me. And it's also not doing anything to build a relationship. So I can get up at a networking event and do my 60 seconds, and it can go in someone's ear and out the other ear. Your profile is going to back up and remind them, but it's also going to take the conversation deeper. And what you really want to go is go deep with people, like, oh yeah, I get it. Oh my gosh, it's so true. Like, yeah. Oh, and that's how you solve it. Oh, okay, I've got it. And it's all about getting a person to read from one paragraph to the next paragraph to the next paragraph. So it feels like a conversation. But when we have these one-way profiles, they've taken care of it. They're saying what they do, but it's entirely one way.
Yeah.
And I'll give you an example. One of my clients I was writing a profile for recently, he sent me somebody else's profile. What was really interesting was this person had actually been on one of my LinkedIn surgeries or something, and he'd put his profile in the chat box and said, hey, here's my profile for everyone to go and see. And I was like, I'm really curious. And I was like, eek, that is a bad profile. And then this guy sent it to me saying, oh, this should give you inspiration. And I wrote back to him and I said, firstly, let's just go with the arrogance of this person saying, my profile's great, you should look at it. That's why you think it's great. But this profile, it's assuming it's not doing anything to build a relationship. It was all about, I will invest and acquire in your business. I will fix your business. I'm going to be doing this. And that's it. And it's like, why would I invite this arrogant person who thinks that he can fix my business into my business? Do I want him in the intimate space of my business and my employees? If he's coming in with that ego, it's like, no. And then, like, you wouldn't allow that ego through the front door of your office. So why would I allow you to, like, try and grab me in with your profile?
There's nothing worse than being judged. It gets my back up as well. People interesting things.
That's interesting. So Naomi,
Yeah.
if we had to sort of sum all of that up, everything, the last sort of 20 so minutes up into 3 salient points,
Mm-hmm.
the question for you is going to be, how do you create a LinkedIn profile that has prospects come to you pre-sold and ready to buy? But before you answer that with your 3 top tips, we're going to play this very short little thing to give you time to think. If I can find it. Here we go. Get ready. You're about 9 seconds to think about this.
All right. Do you want to ask the question again, or do you want me to just launch it?
Okay, yeah. So the question to you, Naomi, is how do you create a LinkedIn profile that has prospects come to you pre-sold and ready to buy?
Okay. So the first thing you need to do is see yourself from the audience's point of view. They are just, your profile is a distraction to them. You are irrelevant until you become relevant to them. So what is it about your profile that is going to grab their attention? Set context with the banner image and your headline, and then make sure everything else goes with it. Ask yourself, what is it that they need to know about me in order to become interested? And think of it from their perspective and their journey of waking up to the fact that they have a problem. Don't just assume that everybody who comes has this problem, because they don't. And also remember that most people coming to your profile will be referrers, and you need your name to be associated with the problem that you solve. So when that problem comes up in conversation, they instantly think of you. Your profile is always working for you. So you want it to be a conversation, you want it to be backing you up in your relationships with those you're working with, but also with their hidden decision makers as well. Remember that I can meet you at a networking event, we can build a great conversation, I can sign on the dotted line without ever looking at your LinkedIn profile. But even though that's all really working, don't forget that people go into buyer's remorse and will come and check you out. They will also tell other people they're working with you that could be a new client. They will check you out. And also people in their lives, other business partners or family members or friends, they might be concerned about this purchase that person's made and want to come and check you out. And they're either going to go, no, I think you should work with someone else, don't do this. Or they're going to go, yeah, I get it. This is really good. And they'll support you in it. So there's an awful lot that goes into it. And it's about making sure every section isn't just written, but it all lines up together, that everything about it is a conversation. There's no ego involved. You're building a relationship through that profile.
Brilliant.
And if someone wants to have an initial conversation with you and sort of find out a bit more and do that thing really where they want to know, like, and trust you before they give you, which is actually a very personal thing, my history and who I am and how I sell myself, especially if I consider myself as a salesman. It's quite a humble thing to say, can someone else help me sell myself? It doesn't make you a bad salesman. In fact, it makes you a very good salesman to ask that help. However, a lot of sales guys believe that because they're good, or people in businesses where they have to sell, believe that they can sell. One of the things that Andrew and I have quite often is when we talk about marketing, one thing, we talk about sales, the first thing people do is tell me how good they are at selling before they can find out whether I can help them. So it's almost that sort of like they want to justify that they are good. They don't really need my help, but they're here having a chat to me about my help. It's a very interesting conversation, but it happens with probably 90% of people that I speak to. The first thing
I can understand that. Yeah, and I think if you're aware of that with your 90%, then we can look at the psychology of why they feel the need to say that. We need to say that whatever the reason is, we need to match it on the profile so they feel heard and they feel validated. And then the problem they have feels normal. And then if they've read the profile, they'll go, he really gets it. I can feel secure in this conversation. And you'll probably find that they'll come to the conversation with you and not say that anymore because they know you get it. And
it's the reason that I don't get sales training from a lot of sales trainers, because they're all, saying, what you need to do is 3 ways of doing it and telling. And it instantly switches me off because I want to have a conversation with them, because actually I want to talk about, and I don't want to be judged. In sales, unless we're brilliant, you don't have a one-in-one conversion. So the only way I can learn and get better is to look at really the things that I haven't done well or haven't closed. And the arrogance of me to say that no one else could have closed that deal is quite ridiculous when you think about how many people there are in the world. So
Yeah.
I have to have conversations around the things that I do wrong in order to get better at selling. So it's actually, for me, a really, I seek it out. I seek out that help and that advice, but it is a very difficult thing to say, especially if you're in that world of marketing or in that world of self-promotion or
Yeah.
entrepreneurialism, to actually say, help me do this. And that message is a very difficult message to actually get across to people, that you're just an expert in your field and you're sharing that expertise with them. But as the outside pair of ears listening, it's really handy. So we find that when we go to companies, ultimately selling it can be complex. There is a process to it. There are things that people need to understand in order to close a deal. I don't need to know the technical necessarily. If you did widgets, you just said, if you made a widget, I don't need to know about the back coding of how the widget works. What I need to know is the solutions that it provides to people, and sort of user experience and the rest of it to all to be able to sell it. I don't need to understand the engine of the car to sell the car. I need to understand.
Yeah, it's really interesting actually, because the post I put out today is 5 features on LinkedIn profiles not to use if you're a small business owner, and one of them is actually don't put skills on the individual experiences, because the way that it is, you get 2 lines of what you've written and then 2 lines of the skills, so they're equal weighting, and the eye can't figure out what it is and therefore doesn't read it because it's a mess. But if you're selling a service and a solution, why would you add skills anyway? Because why would you put down the individual components of what it takes? And also, you're probably doing it with a team anyway. So how can you sum it up just for yourself? If anyone is listening, I would love, I had to repost it because there were errors in the first one. But I love your interaction on that post. I put it up about an hour ago. So it's in my recent post. It's got a big peacock on it. I thought we're all peacocking.
Yeah, we'll have to check that out. Brilliant. Naomi, we're rapidly running out of time, but every sale, every business, it's all about relationships, and it's all about getting to know each other, like you said, about the person. Why would I have that person in here? So we're going to give you an opportunity to let us all know a little bit more about yourself. So you're going to get 16 seconds to think about this, and
as to why they should work with me. Is this?
No, this is a random thing.
No, it's nothing to do with work. Yeah, nothing to do with work. So it's finding behind the scenes about Naomi a little bit more. We're going to do this, and then we're going to wrap up after that. So here we go. Get ready. So, Naomi, what's your secret talent?
Oh, singing. I sing.
No.
Well.
Yes.
What sort of singing?
I get text messages from my neighbours going, "Oh, lovely singing this morning." So,
right. Would you like to, as you're a singer, we've had a few singers on here. Would you like to give us a burst?
No, I'm in a co-working space. There are people out here.
What sort of singing do you do? Are you choral or?
I'm a soprano. I usually sing in my house, expressing my emotions, making up words, making up songs. I can't remember the words of a song, so I just sing what I feel. And I've recently joined a choir. Actually, it's a gospel choir. And so we've done a number of performances through that, and that's been really
wow.
That's been
really good. Well done. So I would say thank you, Naomi. We've run out of time essentially, but recommend anyone having that one-to-one with Naomi. If you have any problems with your LinkedIn, contact or connect with Naomi and let Naomi sort of take you through the steps. But yeah, thank you so much, Naomi, for today. It's been a pleasure having you on the show, and hope you've enjoyed yourself. And just quickly before you go, you have got a workshop coming up next week, haven't you?
Yeah, through the Cobra Club. Yeah, I'm doing a LinkedIn surgery. This is where I'm not teaching anything new, special. This is about you bringing along your situation and your challenge and your question. It could be a LinkedIn profile question, or it could be a strategy question. And I call it LinkedIn surgery because I'm not going to sit there and be your guru and pretend I have all the answers. At the end of the day, we're all on LinkedIn. We all know how to network, and we all know how to build relationships and have experience of sales and all of those things. And so I will give, you ask your question, I will give my perspective, but then I open up to the room as well for everybody else to have their perspective as well. Because one of the key things is I just want to validate for people, you do know how to use LinkedIn. You just, and so when they can help somebody else out, it just does boost them. Like, oh yeah, I do know what I'm doing actually. So yeah, it's a nice sort of collaborative thing.
It's such an interesting thing, because whenever you speak to anybody or a lot of people about these sorts of things, we'll say, what's your website like? And they'll go, well, yeah, we'll just sort of, don't look at the website. Or we'll say, how's your LinkedIn profile? And it's cobbler's son has no shoes, isn't it? So a lot of people sort of do it quickly. They don't really think about what they've done. They've got no real strategy. They've got no real goal, but they know they should.
Yeah, everyone seems to know that they should.
I mean, a conversation with you, I presume, if there's someone booked to one-to-one, it doesn't cost. And if at the end of that conversation you decide not to do business with you, you've probably gained a huge amount of insight. So what a valuable thing to do. I'm not being horrid, but it's true. So I would recommend definitely having a one-to-one with Naomi. It's something that we've all got to get better at, and it's such a valuable business tool.
Yeah.
Please do come along, and on the website you can download a free template if you want to. You can also do a diagnostic as to why your LinkedIn profile perhaps isn't working for you, and that looks at your business foundations and things. And then also it's like there's one I can't remember what it says exactly, but there's 3 boxes, and one of them, if you click it, that is to book in for LinkedIn profile review with me. It's 30 minutes, and I literally learn all about you and then give you the best advice I can think of. And if you choose to take it away and do it for yourself, wonderful. And if you want to work together, then we can have that conversation. But like you said, no obligation.
It's a win-win. Yeah. Thank you, Naomi. Fantastic. Great to have you on the show today, and we'll see you soon. Yeah.
Brilliant. Thank you so much, guys.
Take care.
Bye.
Bye. Brilliant.
Wow, wasn't Naomi good?
Yeah, really good. I want to give a quick shout out to John Tutt.
Hi, John.
Hi, John. John is a consulting specialist in lean manufacturing. So excellent sort of consultative person. If you're on manufacturing, give John a call. So hello, John. Good to see you. And obviously, see you soon, Gareth. Great to have you watching the show. If you'd like to come on the show, guys, connect with me through LinkedIn. Come and have that conversation. We're rapidly running out of time, Ed, so we're not even going to get to do any of the other bits and pieces.
Well, I've got a quick question for you, though, Andy, before you do that.
Okay, go on then.
Yeah, because we're surrounded by amazing people in the Cobra Club.
We are.
And every week, we just have people who stand out to us over and over again. So a quick question for you is...
Right. So my hero this week is a brand new member of the Cobra Club. Her name is Caroline Knight. Lovely lady. She's a personal development and well-being coach who supports professionals through midlife challenges. And we're probably classed roughly now in midlife, aren't we, Ed? Or are we still young? Not sure.
I'm young. But I would go and see Caroline. She's excellent.
Yeah, fantastic lady, highly insightful, works with lots of professionals to overcome all sorts of challenges. So she is my hero of the week. But Ed, have you got any advice for us this week?
No.
I'm sure you must have. So let's ask Mr. Ed Williamson what are his wise words for this week.
Well, it's about opportunities. So we all get opportunities through life. We've not recognized them always, but we all get them. So it's not about necessarily having those right opportunities in front of you. It's about handling the opportunities right. And that's where networking really supports you. So you'll get opportunities being presented to you all the time. Actually be able to talk them through with people that you know, like, and trust, who can guide you, give you their advice, etc., so that when you approach that opportunity, you've got the best chance of nailing it. That's my advice. So my advice is those opportunities that you have, before you jump straight on them and try and sell them, take a bit of time. Take a second or two just to review it with your friends and with your colleagues, the people that you know, like, and trust. And that's where the Cobra Club is amazing, because I can come in here, I can talk about something, and then you see further opportunity and more opportunity. And actually, it can be phrased in a different way, where you can see more insight into the customer you're going to go and talk to. So when you talk to them and actually present a solution, or actually understand their issues so that you can present a solution, you're coming in with your eyes wide open. You know, opportunities come options. Some people get them a lot, some people get them very, very, very rarely. But when you get an opportunity, address it with the best stance that you can. And that's through discussion and collaboration and working together. And that's what the Cobra Club provides you. So it's a fab place.
Awesome.
Yeah, experts like Russell Silverman. Talk to him. Good to see you. Oh, by the way, Russell, just so you know, anybody who wants to follow Russell on LinkedIn will understand exactly what I'm doing. Yeah, we miss you, Russell. But experts who can really guide you and really help you and give you those extra opportunities. And some of the biggest deals that we've closed have come through those discussions. So yeah, come to the Cobra Club, get involved, network.
Brilliant. Awesome. Thank you, Ed. That's it, folks, I think, this week. Next week, got some great guests lined up. Unfortunately, Judith couldn't come today. Get well soon, Judith. And we've got the incredible Julie Donkin on next week. So that's going to be a lively show for sure, you know.
I'll be able to do that. Ask her about her train experience.
Yes, don't ask her about her train experience. Anyway, guys, it's over and out for us. So we'll see you next Friday, same time, same place. Au revoir.
Thanks.
Now you're watching me, yeah, all eyes on me, 'cause I've been living the good life. So come fly with me into my fantasy, and we be loving the good life, good life.
I think this dream now just hit me. Why don't you just go there with me? Surfing the skies and splash in the clouds, dance in the crowds and laugh out loud. Holding your hand, unfolding a plan. Two souls in a land like gold in a pan. Float in the breeze or soak in the sea. Come go there with me where we both wanna be. Lie on the beach or fly in the streets. I'm trying to keep this vine in the reach. Putting everything I do aside, me and you are first. We can travel to the very end of the universe. You and me are meant to be divine energy. Living with no rules in a pool of serenity. Come be my fantasy, go away with me. Lock us up in a dream and throw away the keys. Come on, live this up now. Good life, good laugh, good love now. Come on, live this with me. Good laugh, good love, we live free. Come on, live this up now. Good life, good laugh, good love now. Come on, live this with me. Good laugh, good love, we live free. We need to rise with these new eyes. Pull the disguise off of these blue skies. Lights in the city reflect off the shoreline. When you're living this life, you want more time. Rewind the time, align planets. Ride this comet to a new dynamic. Your eyes on me, mine on you. Living the good life, we do what we want to.